Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The Knights of the Blazing Sun are under the Blazing Sun of Nehekara as they face off against the Greenskins. We have Waaaghgitstein leading the Empire, and we have mcbeth leading the Greenskins. So for the Empire's army, we do have Volkmar the Grim leading the way. He is going to be bringing pretty much his full kit. Actually, I believe it is. So he has, of course, his Bound Banishment with the Jade Griffin, giving himself some nice regen. The Grand Hammer of Sigmar, Grand Shield of Faith, and the Grand Soulfire Bombardment. He is also going to be supported by a Warrior Priest who is going to be bringing all of the non-grand versions of those. So yeah, it's just going to be the Hammer of Sigmar, the Shield of Faith, and just the Soulfire. For the mobility department, we have two Knights of the Blazing Sun on both sides and a couple Empire Knights as well. The Warrior Priest is going to be sticking with those cavalry units. We do have an Amethyst Wizard bringing Spirit Leech, Doom and Darkness, and he's also going to be bringing Fate of Buna, as well as Blast and the Power Stone. So the Doom and Darkness actually is a pretty good against the Greenskins, can break a good portion of their army with an Overcast. For the rest of the army, we do have an unbreakable front line in terms of Flagellants, Sigmar Sons, and another unit of Flagellants. We have two Spearmen protecting the Great Cannons, so a very small infantry build. Pretty much all the Knights are going to have to do the heavy lifting. It is not going to be a sit back and relax type of build, but here are the Greenskin armies pushing forward with their mobility in the forms of 3 Goblin Wolf Rider Archers and 1 Spider Rider Archer, one of which being Morgrove's Mangy Marauders as well, getting some armor piercing and immune to psychology. For the rest of the army, we do have a Goblin Great Shaman up on his Spider, and he's going to be bringing Sneaky Stabbin', Vindictive Glare, good against the cannons, especially at that elevated position. We're bringing Gorkle Fix-It, and then Arcane Conduit with Don't Even Try It. He's going to be supported by another Arachnarok Spider, and for the front line of the Greenskins, we do have 3 Savage Orc Biggins, we have the Black Orcs, and then we have some Goblins and the Night Goblins on the far right flank. For the mobility, of course, we have those Skirmishing Cav, and then we have 2 Orc Boar Boys for the heavy cav, as heavy as the Greenskins will be bringing anyway. And that will be our army, so let's get things going, as Volkmar is kind of making sure that these skirmish cav doesn't really get into the, I guess, the squishier units. Kind of wasting a bit of their ammo, but they have a ton of ammo to spare. And he is going to just pretty much be tanking this damage, so they're not going to be doing a whole lot, and he's not going to be taking a whole lot of damage. So I think they'll be best if they kind of focus their attention elsewhere, because the cannon is going to be opening fire, and it looks like we have a Bound Banishment from Volkmar already going in. A very nice cast right into these Orc War Boys and clipping some of these Savage Orc Biggins as well. So very nice cast, doing some good damage. And it's going to be going through some of the Goblin Wolf Riders as well. But now Volkmar is going to be pulling back as the Ragnarok Spiders are coming forward. And I think these Knights do need to get mobile right now. They have the mobility advantage, and they can't let all these Savage Orcs wash up against the Flagellants and Sigmar Sons, because they will absolutely tear them apart. We have Gorkle Fix-It, reducing their speed and charge bonus, so very nice cast right as they are charging into the Savage Orcs. Knights of Blazing Sun are now going to be pulling away, but the Savage Orcs are going to be doing quite a bit of damage to them as well. Looks like a nice Soul Fire coming down from the Warrior Priest onto the very lightly armored Savage Orcs. And here is Volkmar looking to screen out the charge of these 2 Arachnarok Spiders, and now Sigmar Sons will probably come into support shortly after. Here comes the Flagellants charging through the retreating Knights of Blazing Sun, while the Empire Knights get a very nice charge through those Flagellants against those Savage Orcs. And here comes a nice counter charge from the Orc Boar Boys as well. But Volkmar is just getting absolutely lit up by these 2 Spiders. Look away for a second, and even though the tanky Volkmar is here, he's just taking a massive amount of damage from those 2 Ragnarok Spiders, and he does pull out just in the nick of time. He does have quite a bit of regen, but he is going to be very idle for the rest of the match. A Vindictive Glare trying to actually snipe him out there by the looks of things. But yeah, Volkmar he's pretty much a non-factor at this point, but the Goblin Great Shaman does take some shots from those cannons, causing it to rout as well. But Volkmar pretty much is just going to have to try and stay out of trouble now. these Knights of the Blaze, or the Empire Knights, taking quite a bit of damage as they have been in sustained combat with these Savage Orc Biggins. And yeah, Savage Orc Biggins will destroy those Empire Knights, especially supported by these Orc Boar Boys. That Warrior Priest not going to be doing enough to save him, but now the Ragnarok Spider is getting through that front line. These Spears and Sigmar Sun's not going to be able to hold up. They do not have the mass to stop the Spider, and now even the Priest of Death is actually going to be trying to keep Volkmar alive, but those Orc Boar Boys are hot in pursuit, and there isn't any of the Empire Cav close by to really assist him, and now they're going to get either a free charge into Volkmar or a nice charge into the Great Cannons. They will have their pick and choice of that engagement. A nice Soul Fire going down into the middle of these Black Orcs, but otherwise the Great Shaman has returned, and now the Knights of the Blazing Sun are on danger low as well. And pretty much all of the Empire Cav is in dire strait right now. Balance of power shifting into the Greenskins' favor as they get on top of the cannons, doing a bunch of damage to all the mobility of the Empire. Things are not looking so good for the Empire's forces today. They need to drive things back from those cannons, and it looks like they are able to do so. The cannons will be able to start resuming their firing, and that is very much needed, especially against Black Orcs and the Ragnarok Spiders. Because Volkmar pretty much just has to try and keep moving, stay away from the targets that can do a bunch of damage to him. And Black Orcs are one of those that can take down Volkmar, so he does not want to be staying in here. As Sneaky Stabbing goes down, increasing their armor-piercing damage and melee attack. As Volkmar gets even closer to death, he needs to stay away from that engagement. But if we look at the back line, the Great Cannons themselves are terrified away from their artillery pieces as the two Spearmen try and bring down that Ragnarok Spider. The Amethyst Wizard is still able to casting some spells. Looks like a Doom and Darkness is possibly going down, and that... So the Fate of Buna going down on the Black Orcs, must have been one of the Great Shaman's debuffs onto these Empire forces here. But yeah, Fate of Buna onto the Black Orcs doing some decent damage as the Empire Knights do get a nice charge. They are able to break some of the Savage Orc Biggins. Grand Soul Fire coming down from Volkmar into the middle of the Savage Orcs and the Goblin, or the Night Goblins. But so far, Volkmar still is alive. He still contributes a bit, as now the Ragnarok Spider is still stuck in combat with the Spears and the Warrior Priest. The Savage Orc Biggins are starting to waver right now, but that Warrior Priest very well might be going down here. He is terrified of that Ragnarok Spider, and that terror is going to be a big problem for the Empire. But the Empire has been able to bring things back as they are able to shatter the Goblin Great Shaman, and Volkmar is still ticking right now with that regen and that Unbreakable. He is still able to do it nicely. He's actually chasing off these Black Orcs is going to be very, very good. There's not a whole lot for the mobility that's going to prevent Volkmar from doing that, and with how low he is in health, that's going to be a great use for him, able to get as much regen as possible, chasing off those Black Orcs. A very, very valuable unit for the Greenskins, and I think the Morgrum's Mangy Marauders are going to try and have a say in that matter, though I don't know if they will be able to. Some Savage Orcs getting into these very depleted units of Sigmar Sons and Flagellants, but they are unbreakable, so they should be able to repel these Savage Orcs, especially with the help of the Amethyst Wizard. Take a look at how the Ragnarok Spider is doing, and still stuck in combat with all the Spears. Spears seem to be doing fairly well as the Ragnarok does try and pull out. It was able to at least rout off that Warrior Priest, at least for the time, and I don't think he will be back, not without any form of healing. And now Volkmar does seem to be caught up a little bit by Morgrubs. Might be just enough to keep him away from those Black Orcs for long enough for them to return, but the balance power is now shifting into the Empire's favor, and there's not a whole lot left in the infantry for the Greenskins, and that's going to be the big winner here, I think. We do have Volkmar pretty much just keep this Ragnarok Spider stuck in with all the Sigmar Sons and the Spears, and now even the Great Cannons are going to be able to get back up onto their artillery piece, which it does look like that's what they're aiming for. I think they just need to help either deal with the Ragnarok Spider or deal with the mobility of the Orc War Boys, and I think, yeah, these Spearmen are going to be staying back to protect them, as this little pocket of unbreakable infantry does kind of push off the last bit of those lightly armored mobility units, but here come the Black Orcs and the Orc Boar Boys looking to assist that Ragnarok Spider. Yeah, these spearmen missed their opportunity to screen out that Ragnarok Spider, but the second line of spearmen will be able to make sure that doesn't happen. Well, it looks like only two. Okay, so 2 of the artillery pieces are still online. I think a single volley into these Orc Boar Boys will break them, and I think they're just going to shatter straight away. So it is just down to some wavering Black Orcs, the Ragnarok Spider, and I think army losses is going to be coming very, very soon. And the Empire will take it. Very good match. Let's take a look at the after battle report. Definitely Volkmar surviving that initial engagement, I think, was pretty much what was able to allow the Empire to survive. Had Volkmar gone down, because he was only 1 hit from death at the early onset of that battle, both of the Ragnarok Spiders just absolutely put him into the bin, and was just able to get out, and with his regen, he was able to still provide some assistance in terms of all of his buffs to his troops, and a few good Soulfire bombardments as well. I think some of the Empire Knights did kind of get stuck in with some of the Savage Orcs. I think it was this unit over here that got 63 kills and a couple chevrons, was able to pretty much eliminate these Empire Knights here. But the Knights of Blazing Sun did very well, getting a good amount of kills, able to push off the really the big threats, which would have been the Orc Boar Boys. And then the Black Orcs pretty much just were a little too slow to kind of get onto the targets that they really needed to. I think getting them onto Volkmar and keeping them actually with the Ragnarok Spiders, I think, would have been very good as well, because the Ragnaroks were pretty much without infantry support for pretty much that entire game, and I think that was another big downfall for the Greenskins, that they just didn't have the support. Yeah, I mean, either have the Black Orcs or one of the Savage Orc Big Guns in support of those Ragnaroks, and I think those Ragnaroks would have lasted quite a bit longer. But it was a very good match with the comeback of the Empire, and I hope you all enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good one.